Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Welcome back to the fireside at Old Camp, where I am taking my spring sabbatical, and my word, what a beautiful spring morning it is. It is 10 a.m. and the day is looking absolutely glorious. And wow, I've asked you to throw some questions at me and you have delivered. You've thrown me some questions which I've sat here and had to read over and over again in order to compose some sort of response. And one of the questions you've asked me, this kept me up late into the night by the fire thinking about how I would answer it adequately. And I hope you'll get where I'm coming from with this. So this question is from Simon Rowe. And he says, Ash, I'm wondering if you had your time again, not that you're old, I'm glad you added that, what would you change or do differently in life generally? Thank you. Well, Simon, what a question. How does anybody adequately answer a question like that? But I'm going to try. And I think it's a very thoughtful question. You know, it's a question which you need to frame before you answer it, because how does anybody, reflect upon their life and come up with those answers without doing some deep delving into their psyche and often confronting things which you've probably pushed to the back that you want to forget about because, you've made errors. The way I intend to approach this, the philosophy I intend, or the philosophy I live my life by really, is to look backwards with gratitude rather than regret. Because we all balls it up, don't we? We all make mistakes that we could easily say, God, I wish I hadn't done that. Yeah, obviously, right? And I will talk about or one or two at least, where I might have made different decisions. But generally speaking, I try and keep the tone of my life appreciative. Because I do know people, as they've gone through life, they've had a setback. And they have allowed that setback to set the future tone for their lives. Maybe they haven't been successful in a job application, or they've had a failed relationship, or they've not got a promotion, something as minor as that, and they've allowed it to sour their outlook on the world around them. I try not to think like that. I really don't. And of course, there are periods of my life which, as I sit here and reflect, I think, could have done that so differently. But overall, I feel incredibly grateful for the life that I've been given. How could I not? Look at me right now. I'm sat in a glorious field with the sun shining on my skin. I'm next to a fire. I've got a full stomach because I had breakfast. I slept in a warm sleeping bag in a tent last night. My family, my lovely family, are not very far away, living their lives, school, work and things like that. And I live in a society where I can walk the streets in safety. I have access to healthcare. I'm not gloating on it. What I'm saying is I am in probably the top 5% of citizens of this earth. How can I not feel grateful for the life or the hand that I have been dealt in this game of life? And that's how I try and reflect upon it. I mean, when I look at even in this world, this country that I live in, just one generation ago, my grandfather's generation, my father's generation, they had to go to war on a global scale to protect the world and keep it peaceful and safe. And we are reaping the rewards of that. Even on the very simplest level, I can go to my home and turn on the tap and get hot water. I can have a hot shower. A generation ago, that wasn't possible. I mean, I remember in my earliest memories of maybe 4 or 5 years of age, we had an outdoor toilet in our small terraced house in the town that we lived in, the valleys of South Wales, old coal mining community. You had to leave the house to go into an outhouse to go to the toilet in the middle of winter, things like that. It wasn't fun. And in this short period of time, life is so easy for us. So gratitude, not regret. Get that mindset straight away. There are things I wish I'd have done differently. Of course there are. They've been mistakes that I wish I had done. I wish, for instance, let me talk about my professional life. I joined the military when I was 17. I'd always wanted to join the military. It was a path which I knew I was destined for from a young child. Right? I absolutely knew that was my future. I joined the armed forces, joined the Royal Air Force. 17, child technically. Mother had to sign the application forms for me to join because I was yet to achieve my 18th birthday when I enlisted. But after being in for about 6 or 7 years, the military started to get smaller because the Cold War came to an end. The Berlin Wall came down. It signalled a period of security and prosperity for Europe which hadn't been seen since the Second World War. And many governments, they embraced what they called the peace dividend, where they dramatically downsized the size of their military. When I joined the Royal Air Force in the mid-1980s, there were about 100,000 of us serving then. When I left, it was about 50,000. Today it's in the 30s. I think it's like the low 30,000 people in the armed forces. So I saw that coming. And being a young and ambitious fellow, I thought, no, I'm going to pack this in and I am going to follow a path somewhere else. I left the armed forces reluctantly and I joined the British Police Service. It worked out well for me. You know, I had a good career. I carried my pension over. I was able to retire at 50 years of age. But when I look back on life, I do think to myself, I wish I'd stayed in the military because it was the deep-rooted passion of my life. The police service was all right. I was all right at it. I was good at it. Got my job done, got promoted, done the things that people are meant to do. But I never loved it in the way that I loved the military. And I often think to myself, I wish I'd stayed in the military and gone down that route, seen how it had gone. Now, I'm not regretful. I have great gratitude because the military, you know, put me on the path to being where I was. I wish I'd done many other things as well, but you know, that's enough for now. You know, I wish, I mean, as we all do, I wish I'd taken better care of the relationships that I built as I went through life. I'm 55 years of age. This is a teachable experience for you guys. I'm 55. I've moved many times throughout my life. Right? I was in the military, so I moved and moved and moved. I was in the police service. I went from different countries. You know, I lived in Belgium. I lived in Germany. I moved back to the UK. I lived in Wales and I moved to England. I bounced around a lot. And as a consequence, I lost touch with many really, really close friends that I had on those paths. I mean, I've always been a guy who enjoyed friendships. I had lots of mates. You know, I spent a lot of time in pubs, so I was always going to have lots of friends. But now I find myself kind of bereft of a friendship group in the community in which I live, because I moved to this town in my late 30s. I was married, I had children, my time was really committed with building a family. I was working an intense job in law enforcement, so I worked long hours, and I didn't socialise very much, didn't go to pubs, stopped drinking, got a grip of my alcohol issues, and, you know, I very much let myself drift away from old friendships. And now I'm 55, I don't have many mates. And I wish that I'd invested more time with building friendships and maintaining friendships. It doesn't take that much. So if you've got mates who are close to you and you're younger than me or older than me, keep a firm hold of them, because once you lose that connection, it's very hard to ever get it back. But those are two things which I would say I'm a little regretful of. I mean, yeah, I could say many other things. I mean, YouTube has changed my life in so much as it has filled a gap in my life where friendship is probably present. And whereas I don't have many physical friends I can ring up and say, let's go to the pub, I've got so many friends that I've made through YouTube. We meet up semi-regularly through our meetups with this channel, and I interact with people on Zoom. I love having conversations with people and helping them with my knowledge and experience where they ask me to. And just being a friend to people online is something which I hope I'm able to provide, because obviously they provide that friendship back to me as well. But yeah, I wish I'd got into YouTube earlier. That would be my answer there. I was 48, 49 when I opened my YouTube channel and began my journey. I wish I'd done that when I was 40, you know, because YouTube's been around for 20 years. I got into it 5.5 years ago. If I got into it 10 years ago, I would have had a different life. You know, I would have still been in my sort of really productive, active period of life. World could be a different place. But we can all be full of regrets. We can all look back on the missteps that we've made and allow them to flavour and influence our future. But I don't believe in that at all, not for 1 minute. All of the missteps that I've just talked about, they've made me the man that I am today, without a doubt. The military gave me something for that 10 years. Law enforcement, yes, it exposed me to things that I would never have seen in normal life. Trauma, death, grief. But it made me the man that I am. I'm fortunate, I was somebody who was able to, withstand that and grow within that environment. I had an inner toughness that I was able to draw on to get me through those situations. I would never have known that if I hadn't been tested by it. So all of the things that I've gone through in life have made me the person that I am today. So even though I wish I'd done things a little differently, tweaked my life a little bit, I don't regret the mistakes or the errors or the missteps, because they're all part of this inexorable journey to Chap Nirvana that we are all on. Chap Nirvana is a state of contentment that I'll never reach, because if I were to reach it, it's the end of the road, and I'm enjoying the journey along the road more than I'm going to enjoy the destination. And yeah, I am just grateful. So whilst there are many things we could sit back and say, I wish I'd done them differently, when you really sit down and think about it, actually, I'm glad that everything's happened, because I wouldn't change anything. As I said earlier, I've got a good life. I'm sat here now on a warm sunny day. I've got a lovely family. My future looks rosy. I'm healthy. I'm fit. How could I complain about anything which has put me in this position today, which has happened in the past? And if you are looking at this video now and you're reflecting on the missteps which you have made in life, just think to yourself, are they missteps? Or were they gifts on the journey of life which has put you where you are now, or where you may be in the future? Because if you're not happy right now, there's another step or two to take. Use the missteps you've made in the past as a rocket fuel to propel you forward to that rosy future which you wish to achieve. So there we go. And Simon, thank you for posing a question which made me really think. Made me think a bit too much, so it's going on the fire now. I want to put that one to bed forever. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, don't forget, like it and subscribe it. You can get my take on any point or query too. Drop it into the comment section, or even better, send me an email directly. I'm the only person who reads the emails, no judgment. If there are questions which I think I can share with others, you'll see them appearing on this channel just like Simon's did today. Don't forget, you can also come on the journey to Chap Nirvana with me, alongside me, as a member of my team, because you can become a patron. And for a tiny monthly fee, and it really is quite small, you can benefit from the exclusive videos that I make here just for my patrons. Never go on the main channel, just for my patrons. And I have a personal relationship with those guys who I consider to be my personal friends. And if you want to be a part of that, you will find the link in the show notes below. So until the next time, what have you done in your life which got you to where you are now, but actually at the time you felt it was an error or a misstep? Let me know. I'd like to know what your rocket fuel in life was. I'll see you again very soon.
I'm tired of waiting. How long have I been waiting here to hear the sound of